Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Western Clash. 2-0 at the moment for Team Fnatic as they were able to dismantle Team Expert there on Tomb of the Spider Queen. And Kaldor, overall, very strong showing there for Game 2.
Yeah, extremely strong showing from Fnatic. And Expert, on map number 1, they looked really strong. They could have arguably won that game with a better decision-making towards the end. But game number 2 was a completely different setup. And we were talking about that during the draft already. It really felt like Expert was forced into something that they weren't quite comfortable with.
Right, and speaking of the draft, Detective Kyle Aris got his magnifying glass out whilst the games were going on and found out exactly what was going on during all of that. So I want to update you guys out there so you know what was happening as well. So what happened was Oriel was a misclick for Team Expert in the first draft, and then basically what happened is they left the lobby wanting to try and go for a redraft. They were told that they had to keep the first 2 picks. However, in the second draft, they picked Lunara, obviously, over the Oriel, which was a mistake. And that's what thus led to the third draft, with R going back to Oriel and things like that. But overall, not the most amazing draft situation for Expert. I think they're going to be a little bit frustrated about that situation. Most of it was on them. But overall, going into game, very, very difficult for them to try and execute their glowering.
Yeah, absolutely. And Fnatic did recognize that Expert might not have as strong of an opportunity as usual, and in these replays I'll be showing you, I'll show you how Fnatic capitalizes on the small mistakes Expert makes.
Let's go into those replays in a second.
In this first replay, one thing I'd like to note is how Fnatic, no matter what, always trades up. They recognize that Smexy is caught a little bit out of position, but just watch how the rest of the team responds to that. They know Expert's cooldowns are down and just counter-engage extremely hard. And this clip in particular isn't the most flashy, but I think if we can pause right here, in the first clip, it really shows how Fnatic always is looking to punish the enemy. And then going into the second clip, they're able to secure the initial first turn-in, and they were pressuring mid-fort, which made Expert rotate up to the top side of the map. And what's crucial here is it forced Brightwing into a false sense of security in the bot lane, and this rotation in particular is so impressive by Fnatic. They're able to come and collapse underneath the bottom fort. Like, the wall just went down, and they have 3 players underneath the fort diving the Brightwing. And we can continue with the play here. They get the pick with Brightwing, and just this play right here snowballs them into getting a second turn in with 10 advantage and just taking the game away. And in this third clip, I'd really just like to highlight the synergy between Schwimpy and Breeze. But not only that, just Schwimpy in general as a player has such good awareness of his limits on his heroes. He recognizes that Bad Benny is caught out and uses his reset to just finish off the Oriel and get into position. And I just really love watching him on Genji. He's just world class.
Yeah, so now we're going to find out in a moment here which map we're going to be going to, as well as the picks and bans as we get into the veto. It's going to be Towers of Doom here. Expert really wants to kind of bring the fight to Fnatic, but Fnatic's very good on this map as well.
Yeah, they definitely are, but it's the pick of Expert, so they're just saying we need a comfort pick right now. We need something that we're comfortable with. It's annoying when you have a problem happen like it did in the last draft for them. It's a human error. And it's something that you just have to shrug off at this point. It happens when it happens in scrims. It doesn't really matter when it happens in the tournament. It's the most frustrating thing ever, but you have to keep a clean head and just say, okay, guys, let's just go straight into the next one.
I mean, that aside, what we saw from Team Expert last game, I discussed it beforehand with the ETC as the solo tank, not the strongest tank to survive. And you saw a few of those moments where he did get picked out. So I'm liking the idea of them going for a more robust with that double tank. It's a meta for a reason, right?
The last thing I'd like to say about that last game, SMX played a very good Stukov, I'd say. The way he was able to shut down turn-ins, keep his team sustained, very good showcase of what that hero can do. But moving into Towers of Doom, we see Fnatic as the first picked team take away the Tassadar, and I think that's smart. They move away from the trend of banning Medivh, so that does actually get me curious. I don't necessarily know if they'd be willing to first pick it, but they have to be aware of ADRD's Medivh at some point in this draft.
I find it really interesting that we are currently seeing Lunara being banned out. I understand the high priority that we saw in the last draft, but having her as a first ban, given all the globals that Fnatic likes to play, is definitely an interesting pattern here. Now keep in mind, of course, if you ban a global out here and limit the pool of globals even more, then Fnatic could have dips on. But right now, the heroes that we're talking about are still Dehaka, we have Illidan, there's Genji around, you could start.
I'll watch Schwimpy play Genji all day. Like, I'll watch it all day long. He's so good at this hero. It does not surprise me one bit that they first pick it on this map.
I mean, Lunara to me seems like a bit of a mentality ban from experts saying that, you know, oh, the Lunara was causing us a fair bit of issues, but we're discussing with Quacknex, he's quite happy to flex onto multiple different heroes, so that seems a bit of a forced hand, which not necessarily is the greatest draft, but, you know, Lunara has been putting in a fair bit of work, not only for Fnatic, but other teams in this tournament so far.
Unless they want to take some of those picks away from Fnatic right now.
I definitely think that teams in general put a pretty good priority on Greymane. Abathur as well, I think Expert needs to address here. You cannot let Fnatic get Abathur Genji on a map like Towers of Doom. They will just out-rotate, showcase how strong they are when it comes to the macro game. So I'd really like to see Expert maybe even go into something like an Uther Abathur on this rotation, but it all depends on what they want overall. I could see them deviating from that plan if they have a counter prepared. Okay. That, to me, speaks volumes. I feel like Expert recognizes Fnatic's strengths if they do opt into the Abathur. They have to have a counter prepared.
One thing that's interesting about that, though, for Team Expert is that basically shows us not a whole lot about their overall game plan for this map. No. Is that fair?
Leaves it very open-ended. I'd agree with that. And, you know, that's honestly not a bad way to respond. If you do see Fnatic commit to the Abathur on this rotation, leaving the draft open-ended with the Brightwing Nubarok makes it so you can, like, first, like, counter in the next few picks.
Yeah.
We did see from Expert a Lili against Genji Abba at one point. I don't know if they'd go into that here, but we'll see.
I mean, seeing Lunara banned away there early and the Genji being locked in, I was expecting an Illidan personally for the ability to hunt and almost contest what Genji can do and not be so denied by the Lunara. But Fnatic sticking to the game plan, it's been so successful for them, especially Wobby on the Dahaka, always a great pick for this map.
It's actually scary what they have now if you think about it. They have Genji for Shrimpy, which is an insane... You've been fanboying him quite a bit right now, and for very good reason.
Oh yeah, I will gladly fanboy Shrimpy.
Yeah, I mean, for a reason, as I said. So Uther on Smexy, again, one of the best heroes in the meta, on probably the best support that we have at this tournament. And then we see Dehaka, and we have highlighted several times during this series alone already how much of an influence Wobby on Dehaka has. So for every single one of these players, they have one of their most comfortable and strongest heroes. So that start into the draft for Fnatic is just absolutely outstanding.
I feel like that's what always happens with Fnatic. Whenever I analyze their drafts, I'm like, how do they get 5 comfort picks every single game? They just approach the draft in such an intelligent way. And as Kailaris brought up about Team Expert's opening in the draft, I feel like Fnatic's opening as well is very flexible. I could see them going into a secondary global, a different style of team composition with their double warrior.
Yeah, I'm liking this a lot. This is what I was expecting to see with the Lunara being banned away, that Expert were thinking about it. The Brightwing priority for me just seems a bit off, so Fnatic still thinking the same sort of sentiment.
Athero with his head tilt, channeling his inner mouth ale, but I don't know if that's going to be coming out in a bit. Illidan gets banned here. What do we expect now for Team Expert? I'd say it's very open.
Yeah, it's hard for me to realistically predict. The Brightwing threw me off.
Yeah.
There's a couple just, in general, power picks on this map that we could see here. We could see the Greymane has inherent synergy with the Anubarak. But with Lunara out of the picture, banned by Expert, I don't know if we'd see double support with Oriole. There's still a chance if they wanted to opt into the Vala, but to me, I would be terrified about playing Vala into Shwimpy's Genji.
I think from just thinking about what Nick usually plays and likes to play, I feel we're going to see that Vala though.
Yeah.
I could have seen a Tracer if not for that ban on Tacita. In my head I was thinking a little bit about Abathur Tracer maybe, since you can't go into the Tacita, that might be an option. But right now with what they have, I really think the most likely combo would be a Vala for Nick.
On the other hand, Quacknex still has yet to select a hero, and I mean, there's always banter back and forth, and they end up going with the Oriole Vala. I think that it is a dangerous pickup, but at the same time, they're playing with their comforts. With the Brightwing, they can set up the map in a 2-1-2 format with the 2v1 matchup against Dahaka, which can be really good.
When you were talking about that we are missing a hero for Quacknex, were you talking about a potential false step pick maybe on the side?
Yeah, absolutely.
I actually don't think that when we're talking about Falstad that Nick really plays the hero that much, because usually when we are seeing Falstad, it's ADRD who actually goes on the hero. So, and for ADRD, I would just expect one of the 2 supports here. So in this case, ADRD is probably going to play Oriole. We'll see Kirsten on Brightwing. And Nick's pool with what is banned out just really led to that Vala.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what they end up selecting for Athero. Athero knows that his matchup will be into Wubby's Dahaka. However, he will have a Brightwing to be helping him, so that does skew the matchup a little bit. Which, I mean, if I was laning against Wubby, I'd want my buddy to be there too.
I feel there can only be 2 choices, Malthael and Sonya.
Yeah, and I'm honestly not a huge fan of Sonya in this position.
Wow.
Oh, hello.
Ooh, I love this. It's going to be Quacknix Genji.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
This is going to be really cool.
Chromie.
Schwimpy has shown just an incredible prowess. I think back to the infamous 40-0 game when Schwimpy was just laser eyes with his Chromie. He never missed.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
hello.
AD on TLV, and then we're going to see... Yeah, we're actually going to see Eternal on a support. Sorry, Athero.
Athero on a support. Yeah, Chromie for me just seems like...
Wait, could he be on Vala? Just like for conversation's sake. Sorry to cut you
Right,
off.
right. I mean, potentially. This for me is throwing me off a fair bit. I was just going to add to the point in terms of Chromie single-handedly can do a lot of work to this comfort pick of the Vala Oriole. It seems to me almost that Expert are saying, let's just play standard, let's just go with this. We still have a second chance.
So, we have seen AD already on the Vikings on this map once. And he played, that was the first time in months that he actually played Vikings, and he played it on towers. And every single Vikings player that we had in the scene was immediately complimenting the way that he was running the Vikings on the map, that we was skilling them. So he had a massive impact and basically solo-handedly won that game. So that's one thing that we definitely need to point out here. They are dangerous with this setup.
I find it funny actually on this map because after playing a lot of Vikings myself, I'm actually kind of scared of Chromie when you're playing Vikings. Because if you let one just slip for a second and Chromie knows where one of the Vikings are, pop, pop, pop. Yeah. It's very, very irritating. But I'm getting word that we are ready to go over to the commentary team, guys. So it is time to go over for game number 3 here. Fnatic 1 game away from advancing on to the grand finals here as Expert need to recover.
Chromie versus the Vikings. That's not something I expected to say today, but hey, I'm happy for it.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit weird here, but I'm not against it. You know, I'm totally down for the adjustments. It's got to be one of your favorite heroes, the Chromie on one side.
Yeah, not too bad. I'd love to see her throw that sand everywhere and blow people up, but I'm actually very excited to see more Vikings, and I'm expecting ADRD, of course, to play there. Counter Persona a little bit in the past, but that split push Vikings build that we've seen from ADRD in the past is quite the threat. Luckily for Fnatic, they have Dahaka this time to handle it.
Yeah, it's actually a weird situation. Hold on a minute here. We're about to get into this. We got Fnatic here over in the blue. 2 games up over Expert, establishing dominance. It's going to be Breeze on that ETC, Schwimpy's on Chromie, Smexy's playing the Uther, Dahaka played by Wubby, and Quacknix on that Genji.
On the right side, in the red, it will be Team Expert. Curson on Brightwing, ADRD playing the Vikings, Nick on Vala, Athuro playing Ariel, and Bad Biddy on a Nubarak.
So the Vikings here, you said it's going to get a little bit wild with the build. How about you give me a breakdown?
Okay, well, it's already wild. Specking into Balog here, increasing Balog splash damage against non-heroes by 100%. The idea here, pushing down a wave and breaking down the bell towers as much as you can while both teams are fighting over the altars. Also, one thing you can do here too is actually move in and grab Mercenary Camp. So ADRD will be planning to use Balog here, because it's kind of weird. A lot of people spec into Eric. They use Eric as their playmaker.
Yeah.
ADRD, he's like, nah, I like the guy that throws swords.
I mean, I would too. It's pretty flashy. His push is pretty neat, but you know, Eric on certain maps he does have his value here and there, and it makes sense you would have to talent in him. He is the smallest. He needs a bit of help.
Yeah,
Olaf
man.
only gets it in late game, and it makes a lot of sense. He's the big tough guy.
It's got a belly button too, you know? We've all seen the belly button, and we know that's a positive for Olaf. I don't know how to follow you up there, man. All right, in the bottom right, though, we have the 4-man already being set up here from Team Expert, which you will see from the Vikings. Dread, are you okay? No. Okay, good. I'm glad. The 4-man is going to be strong and enabled because of the Vikings. You already see Balog in the middle, but Quacknix is going to come in and threaten him.
I'm sorry, it was just the belly button got to me.
Yeah, it resonates with you. You got a belly button too,
are
right?
I've never even thought about it. His belly button is so apparent into his model, but until you brought that up, I've never even considered that. I apologize. Man, that one just got me good. But meanwhile, the Vikings are doing their thing, doing their best to get that side soak. The 4-man on bottom is always convenient to have. If you are going to run a wild 4-man, some of the best heroes I have there, obviously Ariel with the Vala, the Siege into the AoE healing, but then having that Brightwing, having the passiveness, both of those are really amazing. And I know traditionally in this current meta, we see them used together in a double support, but I just wanted to highlight the fact that, let's say this meta dies, both of those are amazing at that role, and everybody should be looking to pick that up for their own games.
Gotta agree with you. And before we start these mercs that are now spawning in also the altars in the next 3 that will be up for them, let's talk about the talents picked up from ETC. He moved into Block Party. Typically, you've been seeing that Prog Lock as of late, but them knowing that they'll be in a 4-man, they wanted to use Chromie as a wave clear and allowed for Uther to step up as well and drop down the wave of light if need be, and that block party allows for them to step up and deal with that vol damage that could come their way while they're in a 3-man, just to make sure they clear the wave so they don't lose turret. So good adjustment there by Breeze.
So now it's up to Fnatic here. It gets a little bit wild whenever you have those Vikings to be able to pick up some of the shrines. It looks like Genji interrupting in the top right. Wubby's already secured that into the bottom left, but Smexy caught out.
He's in trouble, taking some damage here. Nick comes in as well, but Smexy sneaks away. Breeze coming in, that block party helping out.
Block party helping out, and that allows 4 shots to be picked up for Expert, but 8 on the side of Fnatic. Very well done there. Getting an advantage over a Vikings composition onto the first shrine. The triple shrine phases, specifically 1 and 5 on a map like Towers of Doom, is a very hard task. So showing that Fnatic's comfortable here against the Vikings, probably thanks to, you know, Hasselhoff's there on Liquid.
Yeah, it's a really good point. The Vikings here of the triple altar phase being very important in the early one. The first one in particular usually use the Vikings to grab an experience advantage.
Yeah.
But what Fnatic did here to make sure it was much more difficult for that to happen for Expert is they grabbed their mercenaries, got them pushing in the bottom, and then attempted to move in for a fight on the bottom side that Team Expert was stacking. The moment that Team Expert thought they could get a kill, they chased Uther forward, and that allowed for Genji to go to the top right corner, be an aggressive member, and grab the other altar, which allowed for a total of 8 shots to go on top of Expert.
Yeah, it's really actually a kind of cool concept, much like Abathur, but it's just so much more radical on the fact that Lost Vikings essentially make every decision have to be extremely efficient within your time. If you make the right call and you act proper, they're a very easy opponent to actually take out. The problem is to be able to do those things within the efficient amount of time. It's so easy to get one delay here, one delay there. Suddenly Baylog is being a problem elsewhere, especially with the build we got from ADRD. But it's just so cool to see Fnatic understand that, make a little bit of an adjustment, and then very quickly act and succeed.
It's actually kind of weird how the Vikings essentially try to make you feel like you're lost in a game. And it's kind of funny because it comes from their actual, like, what's the word I'm looking for? How their lore, their fantasy. Sorry, I know you're not a lore nerd here, but they really are one of these teams that, like, they try to make you think twice about your macro. And if you're effective and understand what you're doing in the game, usually you can handle their pressure. But if not, they will definitely run over you. So far, though, Fnatic is handling very well. 2 ultras activating the top left, the top right. They're going to go ahead and move on up and try to contest.
Channel's already started here for Wubby. Are they going to be able to get the interrupt there? It looks like Quackness still has the dash, but he's not going to use it. It's just going to be an even trade. Fnatic not wanting to play too aggressive there.
Bit of a 1v1. Brightwing has hung out on the bottom here as Team Expert has taken the opportunity to take this 3-man and start working on turrets. They're working on their own experience advantage here by breaking down the structures. Knowing the Vikings, they have to play a little bit on the safe side. With Dahaka and Genji being on the field, just too much threat of them being picked off and giving up too much experience.
This is actually a really cool decision there for Fnatic, and again, it kind of breaks down. Hold up here. Power slide going to connect onto 2. Ariel already going to be removed. Expert on full retreat. Curson not going to make it out there. Just a bad Brightwing drag here. Bad Benny's out. That is 3 for nothing. Just absolutely turn it up, Fnatic.
Dragon's Eye coming on there, helping with the Chromie Burst, blowing up the targets. Ariel being one of the first to die for Team Expert. 3 members picked off, and Fnatic taking this team fight to them already. And this is good news for them. They're going to be level 10 relatively soon here as they get a full level advantage off that fight.
Yeah, I was just going to say I was appreciating that Fnatic was willing to take that trade into the Lost Vikings because, again, it comes down to the efficiency with their time. Knowing that there's only one altar on the opposite side of the map and the delay would be very, very easy for Expert. They're taking the safe play here. But then that team fight through mid, that aggression, punishing the fact that Lost Vikings really are not known for their team fight. Even post-10, if you go longbow raid, you're kind of laughed at a little bit for a couple of levels. The damage output is not equal to most heroics until you hit that 20 threshold. And then play again, you typically, want Olaf to throw out that belly button and make sure he gets that stun.
Yeah, moving out level 16, the belly button gets a piercing, starts to really just stun those people. Really crazy for them. And Team Expert working on their 10 here. And the slowing sands is going to be picked up for Fnatic here for Chromie. Love it. Typically when you have this altar spawning in this bottom area where we are now looking at, that top left and that top right choke are very important for controlling. Slowing sands can control one side of it, and then of course your tank can control the other, which allows for you to channel that altar.
Without 10 Expert, this is a tall task if they have anything to be able to do with this altar.
They're going to give it.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a full sacrifice. A bit of pressure there onto Wubby in the top half of the map. He actually dropping the isolation, interrupted onto the burst brush stock. Curson throwing out the Q and getting the kill. Now Expert fighting back.
Nicely done there. Thorough, for the most part, waiting for that entire animation to go through. That way he hit the Tainment Strike. Had he done it a bit earlier, the second attempt from a thorough or from Wubby may have actually gone off. So great usage there by Team Expert, getting the pick on Wubby in the top. Now it's Alba controlling the fields here. Careful in the bottom lane though, Breeze could be in trouble.
Rotation was heavily conveyed by hitting that trap for Bad Benny. Breeze stuck in a bad spot with that power slide. Is anybody going to have the CC to hit? Athero looking for a flank, no detainment strike off cooldown quite yet. Has a whole bar of hope. But what was a near, I would say, almost easy gank attempt there for Expert. Their synergy between their with their crowd control just didn't seem to be necessarily on point.
Yeah, Bad Benny missed out, which is very uncharacteristic of him. Usually he finds that opportunity,
especially
finds that moment. Yeah, exactly. The slowing Sands did make it a bit more difficult to go in for that fight, and the way that Breeze positioned with the aid of Smexy on the bottom left was a difficult fight, but I really did assume that we were going to have our Nubrak be a bit more aggressive on ETC after that power slide came in.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm going to be looking at that as this moves forward. Maybe the pressure that Fnatic has had with the dominance they had over that last game, because, I mean, let's be real here. Not only are you facing a huge name like the Team Fnatic, but you find yourselves down in one of the most impactful series. If you win this, you can find yourself all the way over to the grand finals of the Western Clash. Imagine if you were Expert, what that would mean.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. I mean, it all starts to stack up. So maybe you start to go into moments where you have the 1 kill, which should be an easy pickup for you to where maybe we can get 2, maybe we can get 3. And when you're having those greedy thoughts because you have that pressure sitting on top of you, that's when you fail. And that's one moment where we just saw it happen.
28 seconds, so it's going to be a double shrine here. Well, last time we saw that, Fnatic was comfortable, just willing to take that 1-for-1 trade. But now these are a bit closer when it comes to proximity, and the Sappers are going to be taken for both sides. The 13 slightly into Fnatic's favor, but I'm expecting ADR there on the Vikings will be able to delay long enough. It was the Longbolt raid.
It is going to be the Viking boat here for Team Expert. We still haven't had Eric rotate down to the fight, which would indicate that we're going to use that Viking boat. So they may just try to settle and go for a 1-for-1 trade. The 4-man will set up on the middle here. Their attempt is to try and push Fnatic back, but also threaten to grab the ultra on the top, which should stress Fnatic out a little bit here and allow Olaf to sneak over and grab the ultra. ADRD is doing so right now.
Wow, Bad Benny so easily punished though with Breeze, and now Dragon Blade's going to be used. Quackney's hacking there, got the Divine Shield, looking for his reset. Beautiful heal. And Thero using that hope to make sure that is not going to be available. Now Wubby starting that channel through mid.
And Olaf was actually interrupted by Chromie. So Fnatic can get 4 shots plus another 4 as Quatnix grabs that second altar. 8 shots colliding with the core of Team Expert. They are down to 16. Very unfortunate to lose Bad Benny that early in the fight.
Yeah, and there's a couple of decisions with the longboat raid and the way the Vikings can't be played where normally you wait it out, get that experience advantage, and then you'd be willing to take the team fight later. But with longboat raid, there is some argument to maybe you could take the risk to take an early team fight a little bit more normal than you would with that play again. But in fact, no rotation coming out from all the Vikings. They stayed for that side soak, and not being able to get that delay was just a very clean punish from Fnatic.
Fnatic just looks too clean right now on
yeah,
Tower
they
of
do.
Doom. The big news for Team Expert, of course, is that next 3 altar phase that you alluded to earlier in the cast. That would be very helpful for them to be able to grab a couple of those altars. If they can break down a bell tower, start to siege up, and allow the Vikings to continue to soak on the backside, it'd be good. But Fnatic already doing what they can here to prevent that from being effective. They have Dahaka pushing as heavily as they can in the top lane, while at the same time, Genji's floating around this 4-man. He wants to keep Team Expert in this area so the Vikings can be contested.
And I love the fact that he's just keeping himself right above the members of Expert here, making them second guess how much they can actually move and commit to that.
Exactly.
But he's actually gone up to be able to deal with some of the Vikings, and with that vision, it looks like Expert is confident to harass this bell tower a little bit more.
I mean, that's the strength of Genji, right? He's able to sit down here on the bottom, look like he's floating around the bushes, keep you a little bit on your toes, and the next thing you know, he's in the middle lane, because he just Swift striked across the map.
Next thing you know, you're dead.
Next thing you know, you're seeing that death screen again.
That bug just keeps coming back.
God, I hate that bug.
Every time Genji onto the other side. But Fnatic is going to be closing in on that 16 talent tier, and it feels much like the last game where Expert is just letting Fnatic do the same thing over and over again and is comfortable trying to wait out for the 20 game. You know, Fnatic did that to them on the opposite side, but because Expert's lack of pressure, Fnatic managed to get the 20 on 20 and then won the game due to the panic call.
Yeah.
And then now it seems like they're relying on the other thing, failure to maybe identify that maybe it was their own passiveness that caused it.
5v4 here. Emerald Wind and Cocoon will be used just to escape from the fight, but Wubby brings the new rat back in. Breeze goes in with the power slide, bringing out the knockback at the same time. The good news for Team Expert is they have survived. The other 2 Vikings, Olaf and Balog, have moved in for the altars.
ADRD will be able to pick up those. Oh, wait a minute, though. Genji actually going to try and stop it out. Top left channel, that's going to be an interrupt. Top right looks like it will go off, though, here. ADRD
gets
the channel thanks to Kirsten's beautiful polymorph.
So we will have Olaf die in the top left. There is still one more altar for the grabbing. Fnatic's going to go ahead and grab it themselves here. So Team Expert grabs 2 and they keep themselves in the game, get a total of 6 shots onto their opponents, but have to deal with 5 coming towards them. They are down to 11 shots. But late game coming online soon, 16, where every Vikings player has a big smile on their face. Olaf, with large and in charge, should be available.
Boss is going to be started here with Fnatic because of their 20 advantage. That should allow 4 more shots to go on Expert, so they find themselves down to 7. That is so very low. But again, the nice thing here is the fact that the experience has managed to be able to balance out with the Vikings sacrificing for that early game aggression. And I was talking about the alternative play possible of Longboat Raid. Here's them reaping those rewards. They find themselves at least comparable experience for the first time in a long while.
They are low on core shots, but they're still in the game here, keeping their heads up high. Need to get the victory here to stay in this best of 5. Bad Benny doing his best here to scout his opponents. Do see that Breeze in the top left for the mercenary camps. This is actually a very difficult position for them to go in for an engage, but Team Expert is threatening. I don't think they actually want to move in here. They just want to keep their opponents in this general area, as they would love to make sure that Fnatic never gets into a spot where they get on top of the bell towers in the bottom right and opens the map. The moment that happens, the Vikings have a very difficult time.
I'm just very surprised, though, with Expert's lack of commitment. All my eyes are on what happens to the next actual skirmish. Do the Vikings make the rotation down? Because I want to see the Longboat Raid, number 1. You know, it's not a heroic twist that we get to see all the time. And then number 2 is the fact that if you are going to commit into this direction, again, you're waiting for that late game seems so very risky. And trying to stop Fnatic from doing what they've been doing, not only for game number 2, but all throughout game number 3 here on Towers.
It is a bit weird, isn't it?
It's kind of almost accepting your fate, but it's because of fear, right? It's not accepting it, but it is not ever wanting to be like, this is the only way, because if you fail, it feels so much worse. It feels terrible if you end up going that route and just committing to it and you lose the game. You just go, guys, seriously?
Yeah.
We panicked and we forced this fight? Really?
Well, they're waiting for prime conditions, and this might be the condition that works out for them. If they can get Fnatic to overextend down here, they are bringing the Vikings. The boat can be affected in open space. Also makes it harder for Chromie to hit her shots. Power slide goes off. It will be on Nick. He is taking damage. Aegis is used, and it's used perfectly.
Mosh is going to be used and wasn't interrupted, and already to find 2 picks there on the ball, and one of the Vikings, Breeze, with that Mosh pit, managed to survive. There's going to be the Emerald win. It's not interrupted, and it gets the pushback, but it's only a matter of time before we find Kirsten dead.
And Schwimpy is just sniping here. Quanix also getting hit by a new Breck, but he'll be able to jump on out. The Vikings have used the boat, but the boat has done nothing here, as 2 has been taken off. Only 2 left here for Team Expert, and they're going to take the full barrage of 5 shots hitting their core.
Schwimpy coming in there with that Bronze Talon, getting the last hit, making sure the bell tower is converted before the channel. Fnatic crossing their T's and dotting their I's, and that leaves them left with only 2 shots on an Expert's core. These sappers are going to be enough to possibly threaten if they can escort them through past that bell tower and into that wall of death.
Dread, I am scared for Expert and any other team that might run into Fnatic.
Yep.
Can they even lose a single match?
At the Western Clash, currently it's looking like the answer is very much no. They look so absolutely terrifying, like on an absolutely different level compared to all the remainder of the teams that we have here. And if they do manage to win this tournament undefeated, that will be the second time that has ever happened in all of Heroes of the Storm history to win an international undefeated. Hasn't happened since the last time NA actually beat EU. That reference we had yesterday was all the way back at Spring Global Championship of 2016.
Team Expert will need a miracle defense now. 6 sappers are heading straight for their core. If 2 do get by, they will lose the game. Bringing out the multi-shots, working in the auto-attack damage, trying to clear it out. Strafe will also be utilized.
Slowing Sands is trying to be able to slow those sappers, but they're making their way in pretty effectively. Nick moving up. He's got the hat to make sure he's getting the hope, so they are easily defended.
They defend! They do it! They actually hold!
Uh-oh.
Oh no, but an ult responds right away, and it's in the worst possible position for Team Expert.
And the 20 is clicking in just so very close for Fnatic. Expert has to find a way to be able to try and force a fight, or there's no way they get that 20 talent tier.
They
that
know it.
bottom bell tower, and it's being controlled, so they have to make the rotation through mid. And Fnatic is looking here to get the zone. They're just going to stop them from making the transition.
And they have Divine Shield too. They can actually cheese the ult if they want to. Mosh pit comes off. It's multiple people. Will get knocked away. Same time, Emerald Wind being used. But look at the bottom here. Olaf hoping to harass and stop the channel.
They are trying to get that stop onto the channel, and it's going to be started up here. Bad Benny, he actually panics, goes in for it. There's the timeout.
Yeah, same time, Nick is working in the damage like crazy. Dragon's Eye's going to connect, but it's not going to be enough. Nick's still alive. He goes in for Genji. The Divine Shield coming out.
Perfect Divine Shield coming out there onto the Genji, and now the Aegis is going to be forced with Bad Benny. The boat is there. Smexy's still very low, but he's got redemption. He's 20. Fnatic still has the advantage.
Team Expert holding in, though. ADRD is channeling. Can he get the ult? Or Genji goes in for the rest. Gonna get it.
Quack is trying to get the threaten out there. Oh man, actually it was extended Divine Shield, so that is actually an Uther down. That was my bad. Kirsten's gonna start the channel, and it looks like Expert found themselves a second life on Towers of Doom.
And here's the good news. They can work on the bell tower on the bottom right. They can get level 20. They can get Ragnarok and roll.
They get the 20 boat. They have the opportunity to get the double shots out. Is that enough? I'm going to answer this honestly. Yeah. Probably not. But I want to remain optimistic because honestly, you can tell that has been the thought process for Expert throughout this entire game is when do we end up making that rotation? They wanted to stall it out as late as possible. Bad Benny punched so very hard though. He forces to use the rewind. He survives. And now Quack is cocooned.
But Breeze on the side here. A thorough stepping forward, looking for that detainment strike. Kirsten goes in for the polymorph. Can they get Quacknix? No, he is being defended here. Breeze goes in with a massive
huge power slide. My goodness.
And
there it is going to be the Emerald Wind to try and deter, but what happened? Breeze just stepping up his game there on that beefcake.
Yeah, working in there, playing that ETC. I mean, he's one of the best ETCs in Europe for a reason, and that was a reason why. Great power slide, great knockback as well, and also doing the best he can there to be in the way. That block party also coming in.
My goodness, dude, especially Bad Benny on the Nubarak. Every single time I watch him play that hero, his initiations are amazing, but the thing that always seems to stand out to me is how often he survives with 0 HP. He's just so good at understanding his limitations, what he can and can't get away from. Able to use the rewind, but the boss is up. It's going to be started, and if Fnatic gets it, this is game trick.
The call has been made here. Let's go ahead and move in and work on the boss. The boat is available. The yacht is ready to be used. Can ADRD and crew stop this boss?
There's going to be used, trying to make it rain. The mosh pit, though, interrupted immediately by Bad Benny. Cursing, falling so very low, but Nick ends up going down.
Bad Benny on the side, he's going to be taking damage too, and we're going to have at the same time Quack. He's bringing out the Dragon Blade, working on attack damage.
They got to stop the boss.
It's low here. It's getting low. At the same time, Smexy and Breeze are going to stand on and go for the channel. Can Bad Benny go in? No, it's going to be game here. That's Fnatic gets the 3-0. Fnatic so far in this tournament is undefeated, and they will move on to have a slot in the grand finals where they'll wait to see who will come and contest them.
Whoever that person is, whatever that team may be, they have got to be just absolutely terrified of the monster that has spawned of the European region known as Fnatic, because they just... It seems almost if they're trying to form a new era of just competitive heroes of like, this is the caliber of what we'll see, you know, and we are going to be the first of our kind. We will not be the last, but until you figure it out, you're going to have to deal with us.
Yeah, Fnatic right now is thinking ahead. They're thinking about the future. They're here in this tournament at the Western Clash, but their main goals is, of course, BlizzCon 2017, and they are making a case already to be that team that you were alluding to earlier, to see how strong they can be. Can they represent Europe and, of course, the rest of the world as the best team in Heroes of the Storm? We'll have to find out. They still have a few more matches to go through, but already they're making a case.
They very much are. And it's so beautiful to just watch the way that they perform onto any map, really. You know, whether it be in the teamfight dynamic, whether it be into the rotations, just every single thing that they do has a purpose, and more importantly, it's the right one. And that is just something that we have almost never seen in competitive heroes, and I'm just awestruck, really, when I get to watch them perform.
Well, Fnatic gets the 3-0. Over here, an expert going to the grand finals. Let's go to our analysts and get their insights about the match.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. That's right. Fnatic moves on into the grand finals 3-0, yet to drop a map here at the Western Clash. I'm joined by Mr. Kaldor, we have Skimmy, and we have Glaurung once again. Fnatic, unbelievable, really, how dominant they are in this game right now.
It was about what we expected coming in. We said Expert needs to shake them up if they want to have a chance. They need to break the rhythm. He couldn't do that. They came close on the first map, but ever since the second draft started, Fnatic just dominated this entire series.
Yeah, I mean, I felt that was the case with like the whole Team Liquid factor, right? Where they just started to try and play some standard drafts. Game 2 is a little bit shaky for the draft as well. And Game 3, they try and do a little bit different. Longboat raid, we talked about the impact it would have on this one. ADRD liking to try and change things up, but in the end, it wasn't enough.
I feel like you were trying to tilt me there for a moment, but it's not going to work. Glowering, of course, looking at how Expert approached that with the incorporation of things like the Vikings, did it feel like it were getting a little bit desperate, trying to beat out Fnatic here, trying some like little extra spice to bring a game to them, at least in the series?
I liked their approach throughout this series, but like mentality-wise, game 1 they went into it with a unique strategy where they just split push, and to like really good success actually. They got Fnatic on their toes. Yep. Game 2, a little bit of unfortunate circumstances in the draft, but it was a more or less standard game. And then by game 3, they recognized like, all right, one of our best chances to win this game would be let's whip out the Vikings and just sort of see what happens. But like when it comes right down to it, Fnatic is just so far above every other team when it comes to rotational play. So when we get actually into the replays, one thing I'd like to highlight in this first replay is just how solid Fnatic's early game rotations are. And if we can pause the clip here, Expert has been in a 4-man pressuring bot lane with the camps while Vikings soak top and mid. And Fnatic has been playing very patient up until this point. But there's one rotation here. The 4-man steps into the middle lane where Fnatic is actually able to collapse. And this awareness is actually on Breeze and Wubby, where they're able to collapse and just secure a couple pickoffs. So as we go through the clip now, we can watch just Fnatic's early game rotations. Unpause, please. And really just punish the fact that they'd played so patient up until this point. Expert makes one wrong rotation and they just get unbelievably punished for it. And then in this next upcoming replay, I'd really like to just keep in mind Schwimpy's positioning throughout.
Just keep watching the crowd.
Yeah, Schwimpy's positioning throughout this entire team fight is great. You see the slowing sands, he's in position to just follow up off of Breeze's mosh pit, but the Aegis comes out avoiding the W, but at no point in this team fight was Schwimpy pressured. He was able to play like a borderline frontline Chromie and just get so much damage out. Like, comparing and contrasting the two different styles of heroes Schwimpy's been playing this tournament, the Genji and the Chromie, and he's able to just get so much value on both, is just, it speaks volumes about how talented he is as a player.
So this is going to sound a little bit ambitious on my end, but what we used to see from Vikings players was like them actually going for a play again and then trying to find a bush behind to get like then a recall in and then put pressure onto a squishy at the back. I feel like I mean, I hate longboat raid, but I feel like that might have had a better impact here if, you know, Chromie has so much freedom.
Yeah, I agree. Schwimpy was just so, like, he was under no pressure that entire game, and I find that, like, really awesome. I guess Schwimpy is able to just push the limits of his heroes to such an extreme amount.
I mean, it was good to watch Schwimpy on the Chromie again. We don't get to see it all too often nowadays, but it was very good.
Yeah, he would like to play it a lot more. But there's a lot of heroes that he would like to throw in his teams, which is saying, yeah, you're getting a little bit crazy here for us now. But it was a very dominant performance from them overall, and they're now, as you already said earlier, heading into the grand final without having dropped the map so far.
Yeah,
I mean, Shrimpy's just so talented at mages. I really do want to see him pull out the Mage's Origin at some point.
Absolutely not. Skimmy?
I just was going to say on a final topic sort of standpoint that I still think Expert have a good shot at going to the grand finals. I mean, there was by no means any signs of them not being able to actually go toe-to-toe. There were some wacky drafts as a result. This is what we knew they had as an almost team identity leading into this. They tried to conform and be a little bit more standard, but by no means would I say that they're out of this.
All right, well, I believe that we are ready for our short break here for the Western Clash, and when we're back, we're going to go down to the lower bracket now in a few moments' time because we have two more teams still alive in this tournament. Gale Force Esports is going to go up against Team Liquid as Europe faces off against North America once again.
Introducing HGC Cheer. To bring more hype to HGC this year, you can cheer with bits to show support for your favorite teams while unlocking in-game loot and exclusive Twitch emotes. Cheering is a way to show support for streamers, celebrate the amazing, and amplify your voice in chat. Bits are a virtual good you can buy on Twitch to cheer. When you cheer for your favorite teams during HGC, a share of the revenue from the bits cheered goes to the team. As you cheer, items like loot chests, mounts, and exclusive emotes will unlock when cheering goals are reached. Check the HGC Cheer event page to track progress and see the loot you can unlock. The leaderboards will show who's the biggest fan of your favorite team. To get started, buy some bits by clicking on the Nexus icon at the bottom of chat and select Get Bits. Then, when a team impresses you with skills like these, click on the Nexus icon in chat, select the team logo, add the number of bits you want to use, and a message to cheer them on. You'll summon a team-themed animated cheer mode to celebrate the moment and amplify your voice in chat. The more bits you use, the cooler and more animated the cheer mode. Be sure to link your Blizzard and Twitch accounts to claim your loot when it becomes available. We'll see you in the Nexus.
Victory or death.
Though he grew up ashamed of his father for drinking Manaroth's blood, Garrosh Hellscream was filled with fierce pride when he learned of Gromash's heroic sacrifice. After joining the Horde, Garrosh quickly rose to become the commander of its forces in Northrend, and eventually Thrall's successor as war chief. His hatred for the Alliance is unrivaled, and he wants nothing more than to crush them into dust. Now, the Nexus trembles as Garrosh's war song echoes across the realms. Garrosh is a resilient and relentless warrior who uses brute strength to crush the will of his opponents. Garrosh's trait is Armor Up. As he takes damage, his armor increases in proportion to how much health he is missing. The lower Garrosh's health, the less damage he suffers from enemy attacks. Groundbreaker is Garrosh's first basic ability. He slams the ground with his axe and creates a shockwave that damages all enemies in its area of effect. Enemy heroes at the edge of Groundbreaker's damage zone are pulled toward Garrosh on impact. Bloodthirst is Garrosh's primary method of sustain. With a quick swipe of his axe, Garrosh deals damage to an enemy and heals himself for a percentage of his missing health. Bloodthirst's heal is doubled if used on an enemy hero. Wrecking Ball provides Garrosh with a powerful repositioning tool. When activated, Garrosh picks up the nearest enemy and throws them to a target location, damaging and slowing all enemies in the area. Garrosh's first heroic ability is Warlord's Challenge. He lets out a fearsome battle cry, taunting nearby enemy heroes and forcing them to attack him for a short amount of time. Decimate offers a more offense-oriented heroic option. Garrosh quickly spins around, damaging and slowing all nearby enemies. This ability stores up to 3 charges and has a short cooldown. Decimate deals double damage to enemy heroes, and its cooldown is reduced for each hero it hits. Garrosh is a durable solo tank who becomes even harder to kill as he loses health, making him especially effective when paired up with a healer like Malfurion or Lucio. But keep in mind that Garrosh's comparatively low health pool and his reliance on armor make him susceptible to abilities that deal a percentage of health as damage, such as Malthael's Reaper's Mark. Though Garrosh doesn't have much in the way of mobility, his Groundbreaker and Wrecking Ball abilities are both powerful tools for displacing the enemy team. With proper positioning and well-timed use of his abilities, Garrosh can force an enemy hero into an unwinnable situation so he and his team can secure a kill. At level 1, Garrosh can take the Body Check talent. This gives him an active ability that damages and slows an enemy and deals additional damage based on Garrosh's current armor. At later levels, Garrosh can take additional talents that further empower Body Check, giving it a shorter cooldown and the ability to reduce the healing that an enemy receives. If you take the Into the Fray talent, Garrosh gains the ability to throw allies, allowing you to reposition your teammates. This can be used to remove them from danger or to enhance their mobility, greatly benefiting low mobility tanks like Arthas or Dahaka. When using Wrecking Ball or Into the Fray, remember that both can throw minions as well as heroes. Position yourself carefully so that the Horde insignia appears over the target you want to throw before you use the ability. With his father's axe in hand, Garrosh will stop at nothing to conquer the Nexus and destroy all who dare oppose him. Make sure to leave us a comment and subscribe to Heroes of the Storm on YouTube and around the web, and we'll see you in the Nexus.
Bring it on!